Hello, welcome. All right, guess we'll get started. Oh, that sounds exciting. I do not know yet when I am seeing Avengers Endgame, but I'm gonna see it. I just know that all of the theaters were full. People bought all the tickets. So I just decided I'd wait. um, okay, I guess today I will start by redeeming myself and making a template real quick because I realized what I did wrong. It's very simple, but turns out it's very easy to get nervous when you are on camera and you've never done it before. So let's go over to Sonar, make a new thing. Oh, of course. All right. So we're gonna save over the one I made before. This one will be clean. Cakewalk projects. Okay. All right, we'll just start with basic. All that does is plop in a MIDI track and a audio track. We don't need the audio track, so I will get rid of that. And just like before, we're gonna add contact. There we go. As a first synth audio output, so we can have multiple outputs from one instance of contact. And drag that up to the top. And I like having about 6 tracks of sketch stuff. Just because I don't always use them all, but I like having the option to have them there. Contact. I'm going to put in a piano. Let's do a grand. Why not? Let's try Vienna Concert Grand. If I hate it, I'll get rid of it and replace it with the one I usually use. A friend of mine recently put up a sketch of something she was working on that was just with piano, and she had all this beautiful reverb on it. I was like, oh, that sounds so pretty. It sounds so much better than my crappy piano mock-ups. So maybe I should use a nicer piano. 4, 5, 6. And the reason that I do a unique load for each channel is that then if I'm playing the same notes ever, they don't get confused with MIDI on-off messages. So if I play a note on one line and the same note on another line, they don't interfere with each other if I do it this way. So those should be assigned to 1 through 6. So 1, 2, 3. So we have to tell it what number. Oops, did that wrong. I did 4 twice. 5, 6. And then this is the part where I really screwed up before. the input has to be coming from contact. That one little thing. So I saved that. And let's make sure it works. Yep, so we have sound out of that. And now, in the future, when I want to start a new thing for Patreon, I have a sketch set up. A sketch template, I should say. Sketch 2, sketch 3. And I can put them all in a folder called Piano Sketch. All right, now we're really done. Okay, so let's go back to what I did last time. We'll start with version 1, just to review where we left off. So I had a flute and a bass line. Okay, so it's not the best sounding thing in the world, but it was a start. And I went to pick out sounds and things in between because I figured that is one of the more nerve-wracking things that I was doing and one of the more boring things to watch, I would guess. And I went a little overboard. So, go over what I did. So I tried playing around with other flute sounds and it wasn't quite going, and then I realized maybe I wanted something a little more percussive for the melody, and I tried out xylophone and vibraphone, and I liked the vibraphone, but the sample wasn't quite what I wanted. And I kept digging around and I remembered, oh, I have this Mbira or Mbira sample, which is another name for thumb piano or thumb harp, if you're familiar with that. And I tried that, and it seemed to work really well. And even though it's kind of a weird choice, especially because you don't see a lot of chromatic thumb pianos around, sometimes with samples, you just go with what sounds right over what instrument choice is technically correct, especially if you don't have to do it with live instruments later. It works out. So here's what the melody sounds like now. The other thing is, you'll notice I slowed it down quite a bit. I was looking up, because I figured I was kind of close to being like a bossa nova-ish rhythm, and so I was looking up different bossa nova songs to listen to as I was thinking about what sounds to pick, and I realized, like, oh, they're all a lot slower than what I was doing, which isn't always bad, but I thought maybe this will work a little better if I slow it down and I put in a beat that makes sense with that. And as I was working on it, I realized the rhythm I had going in the bass line could be tweaked just a little bit, and there was a spot in the middle where the melody changes a little bit that I wasn't quite happy with, and I figured out something a little better. So let me play that for you now with just the melody and the bass line in there. All right. And the next thing I added was an egg shaker. I figured I wanted something just going chick, 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 chick around in the background. And I think that adds a lot of life to it, actually. It's a good bang for your buck on this edition. It's just eighth notes all the way through. And this is where I started looking up bossa nova rhythms and things, and I found some really good drumming tutorials, which is a great way to do things if you are ever unsure of like, what kind of beat should I do here? You can find, if you start looking up something that you know is vaguely correct, you can find tutorials for people on how to play the instrument, and that really breaks down every little bit of what's going on for you, so you can understand how the beat is built and really know, like, is it played really on the beat? Is it played just a little behind or just a little in front? Or, you know, what beat is supposed to be accented? And you can pick up a lot of that stuff just from listening, but it's also really nice to have somebody just explain it to you plainly. So I added a kick drum and then tom, and the other thing that was part of what I learned was actually with the cymbals, and they had a kind of sound going with the cymbals, but I actually really liked the way the egg shaker sounded, so I left that instead. But anyway, here's how it all sounds together now. So yeah, altogether it's starting to sound like a real thing. I didn't say anything about picking this sound. I went back and forth between a lot of guitar sounds, and then I decided I really wanted a guitar to do some sort of either counter melody or some sort of interesting line here and there, and if I did that with guitar there, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the bass line with guitar. So I dug through all of the different like organ samples that I have, and I found this Scarabee good vibrato that I really liked. So I left it with that. So let's try to add a guitar line. So this is what it sounds like. Let's see what we can do. Helps if you play F sharp. Okay, I really like that ascending line, so let's get that in the places we want it. And then there was one again again at the end. That. Let's commit that to recording. And then something else will have to happen in here. Something in between there and the end. Let's try that. It's okay. Let's try something. Yes, let's do that. I like that it ends on the note that the next line starts on as well. Actually, let's re-articulate it on the downbeat. Okay, so let's listen to that whole thing. This is looking good. Let's put this all down into one clip. Quantize it a little bit. Do a quick check. See if anything got weird. Nope. All good. So the next thing is going to be cleaning up all these tracks so that they're as perfect as can be, and then mixing it into a final thing. So let's take one listen through, listening for critical little stuff that we want to fix. Rhythm-wise, it's doing pretty well. Sometimes there's a lot of cleanup in that, but this is a really short piece, and we've been doing a pretty good job of quantizing along the way. But let's see. I'm not hearing the melody very clearly. Part of that is just the different volume levels of different instruments in here, but part of it is the choices in where it's sitting against the guitar. So let's try putting it up an octave and see what happens. This might be bad, but we'll find out. But just for the sake of seeing what happens, I'm putting it back, and we're going to try taking the guitar down. Nope, can't. So that takes us just below that lowest E string, so we're not going to do that. So let's put this back up. I think that was actually pretty good. Alright, so we're going to listen to each track individually for performance stuff and fix things like velocity, add any expression if we need to, see how it goes. This doesn't seem to be too affected by velocity, actually, and just to test that, see what happens here. Okay, it is a little, but it doesn't seem to have a whole lot of variation going on. Let's see what happens if I add in expression. I always like to set a 101 mark or thereabouts at the beginning, even though you don't really need to. 101 is the default, but then I find things like if there's been a low value somewhere over here and I'm doing playback and then I go back to the beginning, it will remember that low value until you tell it a new one. So I try to just give it one at the beginning. See if this does anything. A little bit, maybe. This is the next one. So what I'm trying to do is make it sound just a little bit less robotic. see if I'm imagining it. No, I think that did something, so I'm gonna leave it in. Okay, let's listen through the whole thing. Go back to velocity for a second and check out these. These could be a little higher. It's just felt a little bit weak. And here I've got stronger accents on the off beats than on the beats, which I don't like. A little bit stronger. And this here, you might have noticed I made the second to last note higher than the downbeat here. This is something that I just started doing because of things I learned while playing viola. Had teachers who told me when you go from a low note up to a high note, you don't want to jam the high note. You actually get more expression and a clearer high note by giving a little bit of oomph on that low note and going to the high one. And I found that seems to be true a lot of the time. So listen to that one more time. So even though this is the one that's accented, since it's making a big leap up to here, it just seems it's very pleasing for some reason. As opposed to if we went with the traditional idea of downbeat gets the most emphasis. Oh, start back here. It just sort of punches it, you know? Whereas here, it's just allowed to sing and sort of ring out. I like it better. Okay, so I think we're done with that one. Let's move on to the guitar, which probably needs the most work since I just did it. All right, from just that little bit. Clean this up a little. Has a better feeling to it, a nice ascending line. Make this a little less. Another thing here, just because guitars ring out a bit, I'm going to pull these longer so they overlap a bit with each other. Let's see how that sounds. It's maybe a little too much. A couple of them. But it it does feel more connected than it did. And these actually probably don't make sense to do that so much because we played on the same string. They wouldn't be ringing when they change which finger is pressed down, which fret is being played. If I wanted to get really fancy about it, I could think about which strings they're on, but I don't want to get that fancy. Well, it starts out a little too weak. That's a little too robotic. See, we've got some random weak notes in here. Make sure these are connecting. Oh, one that's too short there. Okay. Again, let's see what effect expression has. Oops. Sometimes while I'm drawing in expression curves, I wonder if they're actually doing anything or if I'm just convincing myself that they're doing things. I don't know if anybody else ever feels that way. Okay, let's test the last bit out. Just because these are the two things we started with originally, let's see, or no, actually it was this in the bass, but let's see how these two sound together. Okay, so this has a little bit of unevenness going on, but not too much. Those to be a little louder. Same here. This is a spot where something's stuck out a lot. Let's listen to that one more time. Okay, on its own, I think that's pretty good. One thing I'm noticing is that I have a bunch where this eighth note leads very smoothly into the next one, and some where there's a lot of separation, like right here. So let's listen to it in context. So I think what I like the best out of what's happening is like right here where there's a tiny space, not a lot, but some, and undo that. What is going on here? Multiple notes. It says doubles too. There were some weird things that happened when I tried to put together the different lines I had recorded. I think that's a vestige of that. Zoom in on this a little bit. Space. Man, they're all over the place. Actually, before I go too far, let's see if this has changed the overall sound in a way that I don't like. Probably not, but okay, no. So this is really just neurotic cleanup for my own sake. Getting rid of all these doubles. What's funny is I think I did this once before already, and that there must have been like 3 layers somehow. Computers make everything easier. Easy and clean. Leave that where it is. Just make some separation. these actually need to be a little longer. I guess part of why I care about doing this right now, I mean getting rid of these duplicate notes, is I kind of wonder if any of my Patreon subscribers would care to have sheet music of the things that I do. And if I load all of this MIDI data into Sibelius and it's full of doubles, that is going to be a pain in the butt. So I might as well take care of it now while I'm aware of it. So glad this is a short piece. Okay, so let's shorten up. Okay. Let's see how those gaps sound now. Yeah, I like that. I like we've got more of an attack on the downbeat, but this is still pretty much held through. I think that's good. I don't think there's going to be anything to worry about on the egg shaker, but let's give it a listen. Yeah. Interesting thing I noticed going through here is that as I played it in, I put more of an emphasis on beat 3 than beat 1 the whole way through. That's fine. It's just part of the feel of this piece. It was very consistent, so I will leave it. There was one note that was a little low, but I don't want to overcorrect either and make this sound too computery. So let's find this. Where is it? Drums are always assigned to such random seeming notes to me. In this case, it's an entire drum set across the MIDI keyboard. What is at the end here? Huh. Let's get rid of that. Okay. And the kick. Okay. And that last one is meant to be all by itself because when it loops around, the downbeat will be right here. Right, let's listen to it all together. Yeah, I think that's sounding pretty good together. So the next thing will be mixing it, and to do that first I have to export all these files. Fun thing to watch. Alright. Does anybody have like questions or anything that I can answer while I'm doing this, or you just want to talk about anything? That's cool. What's going on in your life? What brought you here tonight? I need to make a new folder for Patreon. No, nothing. Nothing. I actually don't know why it's in 44 when it should be in 48. Oh, no, I know why. It's because I have to be in 44.1 to stream. So otherwise it doesn't pick up any audio. It's terrible. Still gonna export it this way. Guitar. Should we call this one? I don't need to call it Scared Week Vibes. Just call it organ. Alright, that's everybody. Let's hope that worked. Occasionally things go wrong for reasons I do not understand. Pixies in the computer, who knows? So let's make a new file. How do I want to do this? There we go. Some people I've met will actually mix stuff in the same file for small things. So they have all their MIDI stuff and then they have all the audio tracks, and I am not particularly interested in that. Oh, that's interesting, that's saved outside. Did not need that. So in here, call this version 2 mix. I like putting it in all caps. This is just what I had before. Guitar next. Organ. Egg shaker. Tom. And kick. Let's see, I forgot. $124. Okay. I do like having all of that set up properly, so we're going to change the tempo here. 24. 4/4 is correct, so we'll leave that there. Let's expand these. Won't need this. Okay, let's just listen once through to make sure everything came out okay. Okay, good. That all came out fine. So I like, unless there's anything super egregious about the volume, I like to do panning first because I find that it affects the volume I need things to be at. I'm going to leave the kick and the tom alone because the drum set sample kit that I used is already panned within itself, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. I think it's fine. Let's take a look here, or it should be. Is everything just dead center? Might be. Okay, yeah, these are all centered. I don't know why I assumed it would be different. So let's put this up. I'm going to rename these so that they're easier to read. Lira, guitar, organ. You'll notice it's changing things down on the bottom here too, which is what I care about right now. Egg shaker, tom, kick. Okay. Kick being in the center is fine, except that I try to avoid putting stuff totally dead center anymore. Let's put it ever so slightly to the left. If you're facing the drum set as an audience member, the tom they're hitting on the left, so you want to hear it a little bit on the right. Let's put that at 10 and 10. And then think about the organ. Where do we want to place the organ? Probably going to be way off to the left. I'm not going to do a super wide pan on this. I don't think it needs it, but put the guitar on the other side. So now we've got in our imaginary thing, I don't know if the camera inverts or not. Organ, drum set in the center, guitar sitting on the other side. And now we've just got the egg shaker and the mbira left. Let's say $20 and $20, and let's just see how it sounds. Might be terrible, might be great. Experimenting is good. Okay. That's fine. We've got a small little ensemble of people, got some depth and breadth to it. Yeah, it is now 6:30. Been doing this for an hour, which is how long I said I was going to do it. I guess off stream I will finish mixing this, just get the levels right, and then turn it into a loop so that everybody can have it. I will try to have that done by the end of tomorrow so that everybody has a track by the end of April. I haven't talked a huge amount about how much work I'm anticipating doing for each month. I want a minimum of one track each month, and then if I can, I'll do more, and as I get more patrons, or if it gets to a higher dollar amount, that it makes it a little easier to set aside time for this. I may eventually guarantee minimum 2 or something, or guarantee minimum 3 tracks, but for now, guaranteed 1, hopefully more. So yeah, I want to get this out for you all for April, and then for May we'll start something new. It'll be exciting. Yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Thanks for coming and spending time with me on your Monday evening, and I hope that this was of some value to you. Yeah, I will see you next time.